Hey gang, hi there. I'm Todd Nauck. Welcome to the Art of Todd Nauck Facebook show. This is episode 12. Let's see, today I'm thinking of drawing Dazzler. Have you been reading A-Force, the new A-Force series starring Dazzler, She-Hulk, Medusa, Captain Marvel, and other female characters? I've been a fan of Dazzler since the 80s when I was a kid reading X-Men comics. So I thought it'd be fun to draw Dazzler's new look. She's kind of got this new hairstyle that looks kind of cool, blonde with the pink tips, with the shave down the side, and just the one blue thing on her eye there. So I thought I'd give it a shot. So welcome to my broadcast. Glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have fun. Feel free to post your comments and questions. I'll do my best to answer as I draw. So let's plug into the rig and get drawn. All right, there we go. So I'm working on a piece of comic book backing board. Been enjoying working on these for a number of years. They're acid free, so they're gonna not degrade or anything. And I don't like using the glossy side. If you ever draw on a backing board, don't use the glossy side. It might seem nice, but it doesn't take art materials very well. Go with the more matte side. The one that doesn't have the gloss. It'll take your pencil, pen, and markers much better. Got my Pentel Twist Erase 0.5 HB lead mechanical pencil, and let's get drawing here. Let's see. Gonna start off with a big. So I'm working on a piece of comic book backing board. Been enjoying working on these for a number of years. They're acid free, so they're gonna not degrade or anything. And I don't like using the glossy side. If you ever draw on a backing board, don't use the glossy side. It might seem nice, but it doesn't take art materials very well. Go with the more matte side. The one that doesn't have the gloss. It'll take your pencil, pen, and markers much better. Got my Pentel Twist Erase 0.5 HB lead mechanical pencil. And let's get drawing here. Let's see. Gonna start off with a basic headshot. Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's 2:15 a.m. UK time. Well, good morning. Early morning UK viewers. Yeah, it's about 6 p.m. here on the West Coast. Just a little after 6 p.m. on the West Coast. Out here in California. Wisconsin, hello Wisconsin. Newfoundland, welcome. Where else are people watching from? Who am I drawing? I'm drawing Dazzler. We're doing the A-Force Dazzler this time. Dazzler's newest look as a member of A-Force. Iowa, welcome Iowa. Kansas, right on. Getting the Midwest represented. New York, Michigan, Missouri, welcome everybody, welcome. Glad everyone is here. Wasn't this one of the first videos on YouTube? Yeah, I did a Dazzler, one of the very, in fact, I think it is the very first video I posted on my YouTube channel was a Dazzler, Disco Dazzler piece I did. I did a chapter of the Iron Age storyline. There's a mini-series where Iron Man got thrown back to the 1980s era Marvel, and I drew the Dazzler chapter, and I drew that piece to help promote that issue coming out. It was a lot of fun getting to draw that issue. Got to work with Louise Simonson, one of my favorite comic book writers growing up, and it was an absolute thrill getting to draw that issue. A very, very fun comic. Hopefully y'all have had a chance to check it out. If not, it's all in trade as well. So I'm going to play with a couple of different directions of her hair here. It can kind of flips and flops about. So I'm trying to find the right angle here. I don't think I want it going backwards so much. To where it looks like, what's her name? Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's. That's the answer. What art school did I go to? I went to the Art Institute of Dallas. Studied commercial art, graphic design, and applied everything I learned there to drawing comics. Can I do a quick hair tutorial? I'm kind of doing that right now. Just to explain my process here a little bit. Draw the entirety of the head. You want the full skull in there when you're drawing a character. Just don't draw a face and then just start putting hair where you think the hair would go. Draw the full head. You want to draw all the way through. Then you want to figure out the hairline, and usually the hairline is about generally midway from the eye line to the top of the head. This is a 3/4 view, so it's a little bit challenging to find where the exact top of the head is. But roughly right about there, bring it out to the temple here as a guideline, cut down, over, and then down to the ear. Now this part's all going to be shaved right through here. So, and then I like to look at photos of hair, and then you just kind of, I like to start here at the center, the widow's peak, and then just pull the hair in the direction I want it to go, kind of roughing it in big chunky shapes, and then putting in finer hairs where necessary, finer details to the hair. Where I desire or feel are needed. Who's my favorite character to draw? I like drawing lots of characters. I think that's what I like about superhero comics, is that there are so many characters to draw. So it's not like I just have one favorite character that I draw all the time. Though usually I do like drawing a lot of X-Men characters. That's probably been one of my favorite books for the longest time. But even in the X-Men, I like drawing all sorts of characters, from Kitty Pryde to Colossus to Nightcrawler to Iceman to Havoc to Cyclops to Rogue. Oh, sorry, that part of the, just drawing some collar down here so you weren't missing a lot. Sorry about that, gang. I forget these boards don't fit on the square panel so well. Yes, I am from Texas. That is correct. Yes, you have heard correctly. The rumors are true. I'm a native Texan. We've got that star, what kind of the butterfly wing star shape thingy. What comic art board do I draw on? I use just a Strathmore Bristol board, 300 series, 11x17 art board. And the artboard I get is I can use the front or back. I don't get smearing for either side on the Strathmore that I use. Sorry to hear that you ran into some smearing when you used the back side of the comic artboard you were drawing on. If it had a gloss to it, that probably was the problem. How did I learn to draw hair? Just a lot of practice. Just studying real life, studying the crazy shapes of comic book hair, but a lot of real life. Still, I found most of my best hair came from studying real life, because I got to interpret my own shapes. And let's see, I'll put a box right back here. All right, so I think we got the pencils roughed in here pretty well. So yeah, I had a fashion illustration class, life drawing classes at the Art Institute. That helped a lot, but a lot of it came with just my own self-study. Always learning, always evolving. All right, let's start, pardon me, dropping in some inks. Let's go to the ink stage. Don't I get lost with all these lines? It can get a little confusing at times. Yes, it can be. Sometimes I tighten up lines where I feel I've gotten too many lines going down on the board that I feel are the most appropriate to ink for the shapes and details that I want. You mean, oh, what backing boards? I don't know. I get them at the comic shop. I just buy them in bulks of 25, 50, so I don't know what brand they are. I don't actually buy the pack. I just say, hey, can I get 50 boards? And they count out 50 boards for me. So I don't know what brand they're using. But whatever brand you're using, don't use the glossy side. Same with sketch covers. If sketch covers have a gloss on them, like the older sketch covers, I actually decline drawing on those because the gloss makes it a bit too much of a mess. Or if I do, I won't go beyond pen and ink. I won't do color on them because it's just too difficult, too messy. So I'm using the 0.8 here, using the 0.8 micron, if I didn't mention that before. Who are my favorite artists working in the field right now? Oh my gosh. That's a long list. A lot of great artists working in the field right now. Just some off the top of my head that I really enjoy, and this is just off the top of my head and in no way is the complete list. The list could go on and on. I could probably fill up the whole broadcast naming off artists. But Ryan Otley, Mahmoud Asrar, Brad Walker, Humberto Ramos, Marcio Takara, Francis Maniple, Marcus Toe, Sarah Pichelli, Amanda Connor, those are just a small portion that I can just rattle off the top of my head here. And all friends as well. Except for Sarah. I haven't met Sarah Pichelli yet, but I love her work. Oh, Emanuela Lupacchino. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And if any of my friends are watching, I didn't say you too. So I have a favorite Doctor to draw. Probably the 10th Doctor. Do I ever make a mistake when sketching like this, or am I always perfect every time? I make mistakes, yes. It's not always perfect every time. That's what erasers are for. If I could bring back one artist to do a comic run, who would it be and what would they draw? Oh, wow, that's a really, really great question. I would say, how about Rick Leonardi on X-Men? Love to see that again. Walter Simonson on X-Men. Of course, I'm going to say all my favorite X-Men artists from when I was growing up. Alan Davis on Excalibur. That would be super awesome. The new Luke Cage series coming out from Netflix. You want to know if I've ever drawn them? Yep, I did a Luke Cage story in the Assistant Editors special a few years ago. Written by Daily Show correspondent turned actor. He's a comedian named Wyatt Cenac. Hopefully I'm saying his last name right. Got to meet him in person for the first time at San Diego Comic-Con. We did an 8-page story called The Power Man of the People. It was really great getting to draw Luke Cage. I've been a fan of Power Man and Iron Fist since I was in high school. What's my advice on obtaining a likeness in my comic art? Work from real life. Work from real life photos and stuff. Is there a series or character that I haven't worked on yet that I really want to? Yes. Over at DC, I'd love to do a Booster Gold series or a Justice League series starring Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, and like all those characters. Kind of the classic 80s Justice League crew that I grew up reading. Over at Marvel, I'd love to do a book that stars Kitty Pryde, two of my favorite characters. Did I ever find Spider-Man tedious to draw? You know, I thought drawing all those webs on his costumes would be tedious, but actually, once I learned the pattern and the puzzle and how to do it, I actually find it to be really fun. It's almost like the icing on the cake is what I like to call it. It's not really tedious whatsoever, which was nice to discover since I've been doing a lot of Spider-Man work over the past many years, from Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man to my newest Spider-Man project, which is Spider-Man Deadpool number 12, coming out this December, so make sure y'all add that to your pull list. So it's fun here drawing a shaved head because you just do these little tick marks, going with the, for the most part, with the flow of the head, kind of back this way, and then you just kind of stagger them a little bit. Am I taking any drawing requests? Not at the moment, no. Not at the moment. A lot of people will post on my different social media characters they'd like to see me draw, and I keep that in mind. I take notice of that, but I can never promise I can fulfill such drawing requests. But I definitely take note of it. Now, if you're looking to commission me for something, that's something different. So I got my A-Force reference here, just to make sure on my iPad to make sure I get the details right. She's got some studs on her choker here. I want to make sure those are drawn correctly. Did I enjoy my time in Cincinnati? Yes, I was at Cincinnati for the Cincinnati Comic Expo last weekend, and it was our first time there, my wife and I. We had a fantastic, pardon me, fantastic time at the con and in the city. It was my first time at the con, first time in Cincinnati, and everyone was awesome. Hope to come back again someday. Hope they'll invite me back. So a little X pattern here in the studs, help give it that studded look. Let's get this other part of the collar going, this other side. Did I have Skyline chili? No, I did not have a single bowl of chili while I was there. I got to come back just for the chili alone. Yeah, it was a pretty whirlwind trip. We got in late. We got in like at 1 a.m. that Thursday night, so we lost all of Thursday night. The convention started there on Friday. I'd already made plans with some friends to go to have steak. We went to the Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse, I believe was the name. Something like that there downtown. And then the next night we went to a German restaurant with some family members that live out that way. My in-laws. So my wife and I got together with them and went out for German food for dinner, and then we caught a flight home that evening of Sunday evening. So wasn't there enough to get a chance to get out and get some chili. Is my wife an artist as well? No, she's not. She can do little doodles, but they are not. It's definitely not her calling or her jam to draw. She can draw a cute little frog or a piggy or something like that, but she's not really much of an artist by choice. I'm not putting her down like, oh, she's not that much of an artist. It's just she chooses not to pursue art. She doesn't practice it. Yes, it was quite a whirlwind weekend. It was. I slept maybe 4 to 5 hours each night. So I've switched to the 0-1 now for the smaller details of the face. Is there any book that got me hooked, that got me to say, I want to do this for a living? There's no one comic book that I read that got me hooked into wanting to be a comic book artist. It was when I made my own mini comic. When I was 15 years old, I created, wrote, and drew a comic. It was an 8-page comic. Wrote it and drew it in one night. And it was so much fun creating that book, then I was hooked. Making my own book got me hooked. And then I knew this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I was already hooked as a comic book fan, but I was not hooked to be a comic book creator until I tried making my own and realized how much fun it was. And I've been having fun ever since. Did I go to the Cincinnati Comic Expo? Yes, I was at Cincinnati Comic Book Expo last week. And now I'm gearing up for New York Comic Con coming up next weekend. Anyone going to the New York Comic Con? In New York City? At the Jacob Javits Convention Center? What's up with the pineapples at conventions? What's up with the pineapples at conventions? Are you seeing photographs of me holding pineapples at conventions? Well, if that's what you're referring to, well, that is one of my cosplays. I am cosplaying a specific TV character. There was a show on USA Network called Psych, about a fake psychic detective. And I'm a huge fan of that show, so I am cosplaying as that character. So that is why I'm holding the pineapple. I am Sean Spencer from Psych. That's why I'm also touching my head, the forehead of my temple. Temple of my forehead? You know, touching the side of my head, because that's what he does when he's fake using his fake psychic powers. Really, he's just a super observant guy, and so he ended up starting a business as a fake psychic detective, where only he and his best pal and his dad know that he's a fake. Everyone else believes that he really has psychic powers. So he has to keep the ruse going. He did it to get himself out of trouble with the law, and now the law thinks he's actually a real psychic detective and brings him in to solve cases, but really he's just super observant. It's a very funny show, and ran for 8 seasons. How many hours a week do I spend at my drawing board? I spend about 8 to 10 hours a day, Monday through Saturday, and oftentimes spending some time at my board on Sunday. So I put in a lot. Many of my waking hours are at my drawing table, either working on projects, my comic book work, or working on commissions or side projects or studies, things like that. All right, almost got the inks done here. Almost. Got to finish these studs here. What comics do I read? I read a lot of comics. I read a lot of Marvel stuff right now. Trying to get caught up on the DC stuff. I've only read as far as the Rebirth 80-page giant, which I thought was great. But mostly Marvel stuff, Invincible, random things here and there. But yeah, mostly the X-Men stuff, Avenger stuff, Amazing Spider-Man. Would I like to come to Mexico? I've been there twice, would love to come back. La Mole is we've been there twice for La Mole and have had a fantastic time. All right, let's get this a little dry here. Kind of brush away and let's erase. I've learned to pencil lightly so that I can erase lightly so I don't pull up the black of the inks on the artboard. A lot of people say they have problems of the inks fading when they erase. Might be because you're penciling too tightly or too firmly, so it's bearing down too much. So you have to bear down harder when you're erasing so that you can get the lines to come off of the paper, and so it's pulling up the black lines. But I've learned to pencil lightly so I can erase lightly, and I maintain the fullness of the black. Now if I had a big black area, like say her jacket here was, actually I will drop some blacks in there, I do that after I erase. What size paper do I typically use? If I'm drawing my comic book pages, I'm drawing on 11 by 17 artboard. Many of my half figure commissions I do on 9 by 12s, and if I'm doing something like this here on a comic book backing board, that's about 7.5 by 10, 7 by 10 and a half, somewhere around there. Let's see, that's the medium. Where's my bold, my broad? Oh, there it is. My broad Sakura Pigma brush pen. Just want to use the brush here to create some strokes of folds of leather for her jacket. Now, if I understand correctly, I believe it's the same kind of ink in these brush pens that are in the Micron multi-liners, so they work well with the Copic markers. shouldn't smear or smear too much if there is any smearing. Should be very minimal on the smearing tip. Can you reserve a commission? No, I don't do reserve commissions right now, but stay tuned to toddnauck.com. Subscribe to the RSS feed. If I offer reserve commissions, that info will go there, and you can be one of the first people to reserve a commission if I ever decide to offer that. Something I've considered, but I haven't pulled the trigger on something like that yet. But all my updates for my convention commission stuff will be on toddnauck.com, so if you don't want to miss out, make sure you're subscribed to the RSS feed so you get an email notification. All right, now let's move into Color Town. Using the Copic sketch markers, starting with the E00 for my base. Do I use reference? When necessary, yes. Yes, I do. What kind of pencils do I use? Mechanical pencils. The Pentel Twist Erase with a 0.5 lead, HB lead, and the Unikura Toga mechanical pencil with a 0.3 lead. Those are my mechanical pencils of choice. I like using mechanical pencils because then I don't have to spend my time sharpening. That's why I use a 0.5 lead for big basic shapes and then a 0.3 lead for finer details. I save time just clicking rather than erasing, or rather than sharpening, I should say, rather than sharpening. Kind of pull some of this flesh tone into the shaved area here. I will go over this with some of the blonde there, so what I like about the Copic markers is that when they blend together they can create a new third color. So it's very intentional there, coloring into the hair. Do I do pencil sketch commissions? Not really, no. I don't. Not at conventions, at least. So I leave little spots of the board, depending on the angle or plane of the face, for highlights. Like the tip of the nose, part of the cheek, here on the chin. How do I shade with ink? Well, if I'm using line art, if I'm just doing line art, I'll use a type of cross hatching. If I want to shade with ink. Depends on the thing I'm drawing, the texture I'm drawing, as to how much cross hatching, if any, I'll utilize to convey that shading. All right, now let's go to some E000 here. Just gonna drop in some, blend in some different shade of flesh tone here. And you can see there I caught a little smudge there. That's a very rare thing. So whenever that happens, maybe those Sakura brush pens, maybe that's not dry enough, but I can find a way to minimize that mistake in the gray scale process. So just an example of where a thing might have flubbed up a little bit, but then you just kind of work it out. But we'll deal with that a little bit later on. So now some E01 here. let's go to utilize some of the pinks here. Were there any main sources I learned for drawing comic art, or was it all self-taught? Much of it was self-taught, yes. I didn't really have any classes. I didn't take any classes to learn comic art. I'm using some R20 here, R20. I didn't have any comic art classes necessarily. So a lot of what I learned, I taught myself. But the stuff I did learn, like at art school, for life drawing, perspective, design, a lot of those elements play into comic book art. So so I was able to utilize that in my comic art drawing practice, but the actual ins and outs of drawing comic book pages I had to teach myself, and I got a lot of great critiques from editors at comic book conventions, which helped give me some direction. But a lot of it still had to come with sitting down and practicing and utilizing those rare moments where I got to have an editor tell me, "Oh, that's strange. We're getting this one all smudged up here. It's really strange. Don't know what got into that tip." Sometimes the tips can get a little infected over time and they have to be replaced. So here I'm gonna have to. Don't know if there's a workaround to fix that little smudge there. But this is just a piece for fun, so it's no big whoop. Let's see. So it was the R00 there. Let's drop in some blue on her eye here. Some B12. Now let's try some B01. No mistakes, just happy accidents. That's right. We're gonna Bob Ross this mother. Actually, Dazzler, I think she was almost a mother. She almost gave birth to Longshot's child, but I think she miscarried. But yeah, just happy little accidents. You just find a way to work it into the illustration. Find a reason for it. Make your mistakes work for you. Happy little accidents. So some B01 there, and now I'm going to come in with some B14. Just for some darker areas here. Now let's take care of the lips. Some RV32, RV32. Come in with some RV95. Let's see, let's put some RV13 in here, really kind of brighten up these lips a bit. Bring in some vibrancy. Let's see, now for the hair here, I'm using some E84 for the roots, just a little bit here, where it's a little darker at the roots. Pulling this down into the shaved part of her head just a little bit. I do a Mighty and Down spin-off series from Young Justice. I'd be surprised if DC would want to do a Mighty Endowed spin-off. I don't know if that would be a book I would draw. I'd rather do a Young Justice revival issue or series. Now some Y21 here. Pulling this Y21 down into the hairline. Let's come back with some E00 here. Really blend that flesh tone in with the yellow there to get a fade going. Now let's work on the pink that's in her hair. Gonna go back to that R20. Start to put some pink here in the tips. A little less and less as we fade towards the back. Let's try a little RV52. One more week till New York Comic Con. Do I get in early? I get in a little bit early, yes. Yes, I do. So I will be there in time for Thursday's opening day. Table T1 in Artist Alley is where you can find me. Alright, there we go, there we go. Let's bring a little B000 here into the white part of her eyes. Just want to kind of round that out some. Let's just go ahead and put some of this B000 into the studs on her choker. Come in with a little cool gray 0 over that B000. Just kind of mute out that blue a little bit. Kind of make a bluish gray is what I'm doing there. Let's get a little C3, cool gray 3, for a darker gray at the bottom portion of each stud. Let's see, we got blue eyes to go here, so let's start with a little B14, B14. You'd love to see me and Peter David team up doing a Hulk series. You know what? I would enjoy that. I would enjoy that very much. I love Peter David's Hulk. Grew up reading that. Or I was in high school when I was reading that. Into art school days, college days. When Dale Keown was drawing it. Was where the bulk of my, and that's SMB01 there to finish out the blue of her eyes. All right, let's get some neutral gray going in here on her jacket. Start with some neutral 6. Pulling from the black area out. Yeah, I think I just needed to let that Sakura ink dry before I came over here with the with that flesh tone. It wasn't quite as dry as I thought it was. So, but now that it's dry, I'm seeing it's not smearing this neutral gray at all. So I thought it would be a good gray to use, or a good marker to use. Just needed to give it a little more time to dry. Lesson learned. All right, so let's kick over to the neutral 4. Blending from the neutral 6 out. And then a little neutral 3. Have ever wanted to draw a Ghost Rider? I like the character, sure, yeah. Yeah. I used to read Ghost Rider back in the 90s when it was Danny Ketch. I had missed the Johnny Blaze days. Let's see, now for the choker, we'll utilize those same shades again. Neutral 6. Which do I feel is the best comic I ever drew? Well, I don't know. don't know if I can answer that question exactly. A little neutral 4 there, and a little neutral 3. Okay, now let's drop some shades of gray into our flesh tone here. Some warm gray 3, starting off with. You wanted to ask Supernova Gold Coast to invite me again for next year in April. Would I be able to make it, or do I have any other conventions already booked? I'd love to come out to Supernova Gold Coast, so hopefully that's something that can happen here. I was so disappointed I couldn't accept their invitation last year because I'd already committed to being at Emerald City Comic Con, which was at one of those same weekends. So, but hopefully I can make it out there to Australia. I would love that. So I can pull some gray down here through this side of her jacket here. Kind of minimizes that smudge there from before. Let's come down to some warm gray 1. Have I seen the new season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? No, I'm behind on my S.H.I.E.L.D. watching, unfortunately. I'm woefully behind. Let's bring in some cool gray 3 here a little bit. Some cool gray here through the eye. This part of her eye, I should say. Cutting some of those cool grays lines there to kind of give a flow to the hair, strands of hair. Let's kind of smudge some cool gray through here. Let's go to some neutral gray 4 here. Give her some rock and roll eye makeup. Let's get a little more flesh tone here on the ear, the E00. Pump up some of these flesh tones through here. There we go. E000. Just kind of another wash, another layer, just kind of blending everything together. Pulling everything through, just beefing up some of those tones. There we go. What do I do with the grays if they overpower the skin tones? I just come over it like I did with more of that skin tone and just kind of, it just kind of blends that gray out if the gray is too overpowering. Just come in with that lightest shade of skin tone and just go over it, and that helps blur it out a little bit, blur out the intensity of the gray. I usually start with a lighter gray and then work my way darker, oftentimes to ensure that the gray doesn't overpower. It's easy to go from lighter to darker, then obviously darker to lighter. So let's put in a graphic element here behind Dazzler. So I was gonna draw put in a little box here behind her, just as a little graphic element. Which side of the comic book backing board do I use? The matte side, not the glossy. Whatever you do, don't use the glossy side. You need the side that feels more like regular paper. Okay, black's going to need a refill before I go to New York. There we go, there's some vibrancy. There's the deep shade I was looking for. You notice I tend to make the tips of the noses more red than the rest of the skin. Why is that? I just like a rosy shape to the nose. I just think it especially on younger characters or female characters, it just looks cute and brings a little life into the nose there. Try not to overpower it, but I just like that little extra touch there on the nose, the cheeks, the chin. So that's why I do that. Just brings a little more what I feel would be life to it. All right, let's use the Signo white gel pen. Do a little starburst here behind her, like she's utilizing her light powers. In case you didn't know, Dazzler's powers, what her powers are, is she can absorb sound and transmute that into light. Lasers of all sorts, from laser beams, photons, big flash bursts. So essentially she can do her own light show at her concerts. So just radiating out here from near her head here, but mostly the lines going out towards the outer part of the rectangle. Alright, and then, pardon me, grab my circle template, which should be around here somewhere. There it is, there it is. Let's put some of the classic Dazzler circular lens flare effects, just like that. Just mixing up the shapes and staggering, or not mixing up the shapes, they're all circles, that's the only shape we're working with here, but the size, I should say, the size of the circles as well as placement. Big circles, little circles. Thanks for the kind words, everyone. Thank you so much for the kind words. Glad you like what you're seeing. There we go. I'm getting an idea here. I'm wondering if this might work. I want to try this for her, make it kind of a glitter effect here on her eye makeup, since that seems to be all the rage. So just dotting in with the white gel pen here over the blue. Heavy concentration of dots where on certain planes of the face here, like this part of the eye, then up here through the brow, or going up near the temple, and then it starts to break up as it staggers out from there. Some here on this outer part. I actually look at makeup tutorials and blogs and stuff for this. I don't look at it a lot, but I do study it sometimes to see what are makeup effects that are being utilized. You know, how can I utilize that in comics? So I've been seeing this sort of stuff, so this is something I want to utilize here on this Dazzler because it makes sense for her character and it fits. Maybe a little bit of that in the lips there. Maybe a little bit on that side. Maybe a little bit in her hair as well. It might not show up so well on the video here in the pink. But she's Dazzler, so you know she's going to have these sparkles, especially when she's utilizing her powers. She just radiates light as well as just from her essence, oftentimes. Maybe some of the sparkles kicking out into the black there. She looks a bit like Kate Leth. I don't know who Kate Leth is, unfortunately. Yes, Dazzler is such an 80s, 90s character. Definitely. But still relevant today, I think. I really like what they're doing with her in A-Force. Got some white through the blonde part of the hair. All right, and I think this piece is just about done. Let's see, what is today? The 29th. There we go. Let's pull back here a little bit. I'll flip around and answer just a couple more questions to close out the show. And there we go. Hey, how's it going, everybody? So, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope y'all had a fun time. And, it was fun to work on a piece like this. Fun to try drawing a new design. This was my first time to draw Dazzler in her latest design. So it was fun, and sometimes mistakes happen, as you saw on here. Hey there, welcome back. I think my internet connection had us pause there. But I was saying the little smudge there that happened on her chin and on her jacket. Obviously, I need to replace some of the tips. Some of those tips on my flesh tones are very old, so obviously it's time to replace those tips. I don't know if I can fix that smudge on her chin, which is a little disappointing. But it's a small disappointment. Small disappointment for the overall piece there. But just showing you, sometimes mistakes happen, and you just roll with it and see if you can fix it, or you just let it be. Maybe she just had some bad acne or something like that. She needs some Proactive or something. So, questions. I think we have some questions posted here. Let me see. How do I hold my camera steady? I use this right here. I have a extendable arm clamp that I just clamp the phone into so it can hold my phone while I draw. So that's how I hold my camera steady while I'm drawing. Inktober for me at all? Probably not. No Inktober for me. Too busy with work. October's a really rough month for me, so work-wise. So wouldn't have time to participate in Inktober, more than likely. Earrings. Yeah, I didn't put any earrings on this version. There we go. Hey, I don't know if I keep pausing, if the video pauses for you when my signal starts to buffer there. So apparently I've got a weak signal. So yes, Bob Ross, happy accidents. Thank you so much for the grace, gang. Gang, I better sign off now because apparently I'm not having the best signal here for broadcasting. So we'll just wrap up the show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following me here on the Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page. We'll do another episode in the near future, hopefully. And if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe so you don't miss out on future broadcasts. Hope everyone's doing well, and I hope to see y'all again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.